We have a lot to go over today. Our team has been frantically working all day to get the latest news about what benefits are still paying, what's not paying, what states are doing to adapt to that, so on and so forth, because there is all sorts of different conflicting news out there. And I have to tell you, I think today was probably the most difficult research day in possibly my entire career, because there is so much just false information out there. So we spent tons of hours digging into original sources to make sure that we're bringing you the most accurate and up-to-date information today. So I appreciate you guys being here with us as we move through this. I'm just making one quick check to make sure that we're live. Okay, we're good. I do apologize for that again. Technical issues are just crazy today. Okay, so as you know, we are in the thick of the second longest shutdown in U.S. history. The longest one was 35 days. We're here at day 30. It's getting a little crazy, and I know you are all very stressed. So we will be going over Section 8 SNAP, TANF, cash benefits, all of the things today. So I see your guys' chat popping up, and we're going to be getting to that as quick as we can. So first, the question we're getting asked the most often is about Social Security, right? So I want you to know right now that the Social Security Administration has assured people that Social Security retirement, SSDI, SSI, all of that should be getting out to you on time. Since November 1st is a Saturday, some of you should be getting those benefits as early as tomorrow. So if you're worried about Social Security, that's not the one to worry about right now. Okay, Medicare and Medicaid are safe and active for now. Medicare is continuing normally. We are in the thick of open enrollment again, which is the period where you can look at your plan, make sure it's the best plan for you. And if that's something you're evaluating right now, I'd recommend you call our sponsor chapter, because they're fantastic at helping you figure out exactly the best plan for your needs. Now, if you're on Medicaid, oh dear, this isn't the updated version of the slide deck. I just updated this. So Medicaid said that they have funding through the end of this fiscal quarter and the start of the next. So Medicaid should be fine as well. And that's, of course, going to help you with your coverage for your medical care. So VA benefits are still functional. Those do remain funded. They're funded very differently. So you may have, sorry, I'm looking at my tech tools and we've got a team with me today, which we don't usually have, so it's a little distracting. You know, veterans hospitals, benefits are paying out, all of that is working. There may be some slower things if you need administrative assistance, but for the most part, you should be good there. Yes, federal student aid is continuing. Unfortunately, you still have to continue making your loan payments as well. There may be slower response times if you need to reach out to like a hotline or something, but FAFSA is still open. They're still being dispensed. All of that is still operational. Now, Section 8 and HUD housing are also still being paid in November. If you caught our recent video that went over all of the different HUD programs, and there are a lot of different housing programs, not just Section 8, we did find out that vouchers are funded through November and through December at this time. After December, we're not quite sure, but we're hoping that the shutdown will resolve by then and it won't be an issue. There are other housing programs that may be impacted faster, so I would recommend if you are in HUD housing that you go check out our other video on that, because we dove into all of the different programs that they have, and there are a lot of them, and a lot of them are very niche, and not a lot of people are on them. So just as a general covering the housing vouchers that most people get, those are going to be fine. Now, child support is still operational. Somebody had asked us about that. School meals are still continuing to be served. There hasn't been a lapse in funding there yet. Of course, we know that SNAP is a pretty significant issue. The USDA has announced that no federal SNAP payments will go out in November unless Congress reopens the government. However, there are a couple of things that have kind of changed that situation a little bit. So several states, including Virginia and Louisiana, are using emergency funds to keep those benefits flowing temporarily. Dozens of states have also got together to file a lawsuit demanding that the USDA release that food money, and that hearing was today, and they actually said that they will be making that ruling hopefully this afternoon. So I actually have a live ticker over here. I'm refreshing to see if we're going to get an answer on that. I know a lot of you want to know if your specific state is going to be funding those benefits. So I'm going to try to screen share the article that I was working on this morning, because we have been researching this in live time to try to get you guys these answers. So I've never tried to switch from my presentation before. So hopefully we won't have any issues with this, even though we've had some issues with my tech today. So let's see if we can pull this off. Oh, good. There we go. So this is our website. By the way, this is lowincomerelief.com. This is managed by me and my team. We do all the research that you'll find here. So this is where we are putting all of the state-specific information for November when it comes to the SNAP program. And I am going to have to make this bigger because there's a lot of information here. So let's dive in and see what we've found so far about what's going on with SNAP. A lot of different states are doing a lot of different things while we wait for the outcome of this lawsuit. So if you're in Arizona, Arizona has announced that they're creating a program called Food Bucks Now. And that program is going to distribute a $30 voucher to help SNAP households purchase fresh produce at participating grocery stores. Now, I know $30 is not a lot, but at least it is something. So those funds will be administered by the Double Up food program, if you're familiar with that one. That's where you can go to double the value of your SNAP if you're buying, fresh produce. That network is going to be the one that's going to distribute these $30 vouchers. So you can go, we have a list on our website. The Arizona Double Up program has a list on their website. That's who you're going to want to contact for those vouchers when they launch that. The entire state of California hasn't done anything yet, but the city of San Francisco has announced a partnership that will allow them to send prepaid gift cards to cover SNAP benefit amounts for city residents. So if you are in San Francisco, you may be able to get that help. I'm not entirely sure how they're distributing that or how you go about getting that, but that is something that they are working on. Delaware has also declared a state of emergency. They've announced plans to use state funding to provide SNAP benefits. Those payments are going to be made on a week-by-week basis as needed. Basically, they know this is going to be expensive and they can't really, I guess they can afford to, but they're kind of hoping, I think, that the government's going to reopen, so they're not going to have to continue issuing that every week. But they are planning a weekly payment to try to tide people over through that time. So it might change up how you handle your shopping. They are also providing additional support to food banks in their area. Now, Hawaii has started accepting applications for what they're calling the Hawaii Relief Program. And this isn't strictly a SNAP replacement. This program is going to provide up to 4 months of TANF support for housing and utility payments for families who have at least one dependent child in their household and have a financial need. So this is going to be separate from the usual SNAP and TANF programs. This is called the Hawaii Relief Program. And to my understanding, those applications are open right now. And I do apologize. I'm seeing some typos here on the screen. I threw this together really quickly this morning, and I was trying to crank that research out as fast as I could. So New Mexico also has a plan to put state funds onto existing EBT cards, which honestly is impressive to me because I didn't realize they could do that. Those payments, though, you need to understand if you are in New Mexico, those payments are only going to equal about 30% of what you would normally receive. This is going to be significantly reduced from your usual payout, but it's something, right? And at this point, something is better than nothing. They're also saying that elderly and disabled recipients are supposed to receive at least $100, which is pretty cool. Those funds are expected to be available on November 1st, and they're intended to help you get through the first 10 days of November, which is probably why they're equal to 30%. I don't know if they're planning to do kind of like what Delaware is doing and do a staggered disbursement or not. This is all the information that we have available at this time. So Virginia has also declared a state of emergency. They've announced that they will be using state funds to temporarily food benefits in their area. Louisiana is also working on a short-term plan, but their plan is only to provide food assistance between November 1st and November 4th, and the state lawmakers there are currently considering a longer extension, but we don't know. The report I saw earlier said that this would cover 500 and something thousand people, and there's, I think, 700,000 something people that get SNAP, so I don't know. I don't really understand exactly how they're going to handle that. Now, Vermont is expecting to create some sort of state-funded stopgap measure, but they haven't released any of those details yet. The emergency board was supposed to meet this week to explain or make a decision and figure out how this was going to work. So that's what we know so far. Now, I don't want you to freak out if your state is not on this list. We have been working through the states as fast as we can. I only found out what Ohio was doing because somebody left it in the comments before we jumped on the live stream, and I went and did some research really quick, and that'll be coming up on another tab that we have because it's actually part of what they're doing in the TANF program to kind of compensate. Anyway, there are other states that are doing other things as well, but it's not going to provide as direct relief. So states like California, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Iowa, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Missouri, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Mexico, New York, North Dakota, Ohio, Oregon, Rhode Island, South Carolina, Washington State, and West Virginia are also taking steps to at least support their local food banks and get more funding to the food banks. Some of them are doing other things with TANF and other programs to kind of help fill in that gap, and we'll go over more of that when we get to the TANF slide. But I wanted you guys to see this because this is a very quickly evolving situation. This is changing super fast. We're getting new notices just continuously about what states are doing. So for the latest, most up-to-date information on this, you'll want to go to our website and look for this article titled, What Will You Get Food Stamps in November? Because we'll be updating this pretty much continuously as news crosses our desk. So it's really easy to update these articles, and that's where we'll be updating that information. Now, hopefully it's going to let me jump back to my slides so we can keep going. Okay, hopefully you guys saw that transition, and hopefully it was experimenting with new technology today, as you can tell. So, all right, so that covers what's going on with SNAP. Now we're going to talk about what's going on with WIC. So WIC supports, oh no. I didn't put the other, hang on. More technical issues today. Oh my goodness, guys. I am so sorry about this. Give me just one moment. So we'll just keep going with WIC, and then I'll get back to you guys on what's going on with that lawsuit because it is really exciting. Okay, so if you're interested in SNAP news, don't go anywhere because we're going to circle back to that at the end. So WIC is mostly okay. A lot of states have announced that they either have current funding or they will be able to use state funding for that. And I actually have that up over here. We have another article on the, wow, why does it look like that? Okay, more tech issues, so fun. Okay, we have another article on our website that says, will you get WIC in November? And this is basically gonna be the same thing, but for WIC, okay? We're gonna talk about the Keep SNAP and WIC Funded Act that is going on in there. And we're also basically cataloging everything that every state is saying about their WIC program. So California said that it's going to be fine through November. Hawaii said that it's going to be fine. So did Idaho, Minnesota, New York, North Dakota, Ohio, Oregon, Utah, Washington, and Wyoming. The only state I could find any indication that WIC was going to have a problem in was North Carolina, who posted a couple of days ago that they did not currently have funding to maintain benefits past early November. So if you're in North Carolina, there may be an issue with WIC later into November. But until then, it should be fine there. And every other state that I checked said that it was going to be okay through at least the middle of November. If you have questions about your specific state, you are always welcome to drop those in the comments, let us know, and we will try to get that researched for you as quickly as possible. It is a little overwhelming to try to do like all 50 states. So I'm like writing these articles all at the same time as I'm finding information. But we're doing our best to get every single state on here because I know you guys deserve honest, clear answers about what's going on. And if you're getting this information from low income relief, you can feel confident that it's the truth because I'm going to link right here. These blue links throughout the article are going to take you to the original sources where I got that information. Because I think it's really important that you see those original sources because more often than not, when you're reading news articles, you're reading something that's been rehashed multiple times. And I have seen a lot of inaccuracies as I've been fact checking all of this information. So definitely go bookmark these pages if you're worried about your benefits. And should the absolute worst happen and this shutdown continue so long that we have to do this for December, we'll have similar articles written up for that as well. And we'll just keep tracking this for as long as it goes to try to get you guys those solid answers. So, okay, so that takes care of WIC. Now let's talk about LIHEAP because that is something that I know a lot of you are worried about right now because normally we would be in peak application season for that program and we're just kind of not right now. So earlier we talked about how some states were opening up their applications on the assumption that the federal government was going to get their stuff together and figure out how to reopen and get going. Now, some states are still accepting applications. They're still moving forward with the program. Other states have announced that they are going to be postponing opening that program until they figure out what's going on at the federal level. I saw an announcement, I believe it was Pennsylvania, that said that they were going to basically push that out an extra 30 days, I think they said, and then they'll readjust from there if it's still shut down to try to evaluate when they can open that up because normally this program gets good federal funding and that's not available right now because the appropriations weren't done. So please know that if you normally rely on LIHEAP for your utility bills, there are other options out there. There are other nonprofits that can help with utility bills. There are programs that a lot of utility companies offer that can help. Please don't just assume that because LIHEAP is not available that you're not going to be able to get the help that you need. We have other videos that go over other ways that you can get assistance with those bills. So just be aware of that. And we're going to do another video here in the next week or so talking about ways that you can manage your utilities and keep them cheaper and stay safe, even if you're not able to get assistance, which hopefully will not be necessary, but we'll see how that goes. Now let's talk about cash assistance. Now, federally, this is called TANF. It's called a lot of different things in a lot of different states. California calls it CalWorks. Some of the other states call it temporary assistance or cash assistance or, all sorts of different things. You see TANF called by tons and tons of different names. Now, states are doing some really creative stuff with TANF because they have a lot more freedom with how they use that money, right? When the federal government gives a state money for SNAP, it's like, here's your SNAP money, give it to them as food benefits, and then that's what happens. When the federal government gives states money for TANF, it's like, here is this chunk of money that you can do a lot of different things with, figure it out. And then the state has a lot of leeway and leverage on like how they're going to distribute that money and what they're going to do with it. So we're seeing a lot of states get really creative with that. So let's go back over to our website one more time and talk about what's going on with your cash benefits or your TANF benefits here. And of course, this is live on the website right now. You guys can go to this webpage and see it. We will continue updating this as we get more information. That's why we have these dates on the page that you can see right here. You can always tell the last time it was updated when you go to the website. So Rhode Island is doing something really cool. They are going to basically double the value. Wait, hang on. Is this the one? Yes. One of them is doubling it. I don't remember. I think it was Rhode Island. But anyway, They're going to be sending out extra payments to TANF families at least. Their goal is to provide extra support to those who have lost SNAP benefits. So the first state payment will go as usual on November 1st, and then the second payment will appear November 16th, is the plan there. Now, we know that some states have just said that they're continuing to issue it as normal. California says that it's not affected, it's going to be paid out as usual. They're also reminding people who have TANF that they're eligible for a free Golden Bear Pass for state parks as well. So if you're interested, go check that out. Kansas says it's still running, so does... Okay, I guess I need to point this out. Kentucky said that they don't have federal funding, but they're going to use state funding for it. So there's that. Minnesota, Missouri, New York, Ohio. Oh, this is in the wrong category. Ohio is the one that said they were going to double the amount that's paid out to those who qualify. So they're going to pay it out as normal November 1st, and then they're going to send an additional payment every week as long as SNAP isn't available. And that weekly payout will be equal to 25% of your usual monthly allotment. So it's Ohio that's doubling it, not Rhode Island. I apologize for that. There is a lot of information in my brain today. I have been researching stuff for like 9 hours now. So I'm a little exhausted, and we've been at this all week. So I apologize for getting that confused as I was reading it off to you. Yeah, so Oklahoma says that TANF is going to be fine. Oregon says it's going to be fine. South Carolina, Washington, they all say it's fine. Just because your state isn't listed here doesn't mean you're going to have a problem. It's just that we couldn't find an official statement addressing the shutdown. Because there's so much misinformation out there, for the purposes of our research at Low Income Relief, we have a pretty high bar in what we will take as a fact at this point. So to make it on this list, we have to find something on their official state website that addresses the shutdown and says it will still be paid. So that's how we're handling our lists here, just to make sure that they are as accurate as humanly possible as we go through this very confusing time together. So, okay, so I need to look really quick. I've been trying to keep tabs. They're supposed to make a decision on that lawsuit, and I want to make sure I'm finding out when that happens. But okay, we'll just keep going for now. So child care payments are another one that's potentially at risk here. Head Start is talking about potentially having to close down because of funding from the shutdown. So this is very patchy. If you are relying on Head Start, I would recommend that you stay in contact with your local center and follow up with them about what their funding looks like and how they are, how they're handling things, just so that you have the most accurate information for what's going on in your specific area at this time. Okay, so that takes us to our wrap up, it looks like, which means I need to switch over to that other information I had for you about the lawsuit today, because that was so interesting. Hopefully this is finished uploading. Okay, and then we should be able to just get in here and pivot to the right slide. Yes. Okay. Sorry, looking for one thing really quick. Okay. So that lawsuit that I've been telling you about for the last couple of days, where like 25 states in Washington, D.C., I think it is, went in and sued the federal government, the USDA, OMB, the leaders of USDA and OMB. There's 5 defendants on the suit. They went in, they sued, and they are trying to force the federal government to pay out SNAP benefits. And this is obviously really exciting because we know those benefits are very badly needed. So the judge that is overseeing the case is Judge Indira Talwani of the U.S. District Court for the District of Massachusetts. She's overseeing the case. Now, the New York Times reporting on this lawsuit said that she appeared frustrated, confounded, and frequently expressed skepticism over the claims that the Department of Justice was making, as they basically said that there was nothing they could do. So she hasn't issued a ruling yet, and I know that because I'm frantically refreshing my news ticker over here trying to see if she's said something. But they have said that that ruling should come out later today, hopefully. So I'm hoping we're going to get a definitive answer on that, possibly even while we're here talking. So if it comes through, I will absolutely tell you because I'm really excited to see what's going to come of this. So this is a quote from the New York Times article that I read earlier today, and it says, entering the hearing, top officials in the Trump administration had acknowledged that they had billions of dollars left over across multiple federal accounts, including money in an emergency reserve specifically for SNAP. The amounts appeared to total more than what would be needed to cover the full costs of providing food stamps if the shutdown continued through November. Right? But they went on to claim that they could not or would not use those funds because there are legal obstacles, technical hurdles, and other budgetary constraints to consider at USDA. So upon hearing that, I really loved this quote, which is something that the judge said. She said, Congress has put money in an emergency fund. It's hard for me to understand how this isn't an emergency when there's no money and a lot of people are needing their SNAP benefits. Right? She also told lawyers that if the government can't afford to cover the program, there's a process to follow rather than simply suspending all benefits. So statements like that are why so many news outlets, as you can see here on our screenshots, are reporting that it seems likely that she's going to rule to force the payment of those SNAP benefits, which would be such a blessing for so many people. Now, like I said, several sources are saying that. NBC Boston quoted her as saying that that was her interpretation of what Congress intended when an agency's funding runs out. She said, if you don't have money, you tighten your belt. You're not going to make everyone drop dead because it's a political game someplace. So just some interesting quotes from what happened in that hearing today. I'm so eager to hear the ruling on this, but still doesn't look like it's dropped yet. Now, that's all the good news, right? Is that it looks like some action is going to be taken here in this hearing. And I'm glad to see that they're moving so quickly on it. However, there was some not so great news from it. The Justice Department lawyers also said that if the courts side with the states, it could take weeks in some cases to provision SNAP this way, and that doing so may leave beneficiaries with only less than half the amount they would normally receive in a month under SNAP. Now, that's interesting because just a little bit ago, we heard that they had more than enough, right? Well, I guess it's my understanding, I'm not a lawyer, but I guess it comes down to the way the money's laid out, because there is the contingency fund and then there's some other funds that they have that they used to pull money for WIC and things like that. So it sounds like there's a lot of different little funds here and there. And that's why they're saying that I guess if they pull the money from one fund, it wouldn't be fully funded. I was surprised to see that the judge looked like they agreed with that, even though it had been said that the money was all there. NBC is reporting that Talwani acknowledged that even ordering emergency funds to pay SNAP might still be painful for some SNAP recipients because it could mean that they get less money and that the money they do get could be delayed. So, I mean, something is better than nothing, in my opinion. And we have definitely been being told there's going to be nothing. So it's still good news, I think, even though it's not as great of news as I had hoped that it would be. But of course, we won't know anything for sure until that final ruling comes out. And I am still not seeing any reporting on that. So that concludes what's going on with the lawsuit so far. And I will continue just tapping this refresh button periodically as we go through our Q&A here. I do want to just remind you, our sponsor, Chapter Medicare, is giving away their free bestseller. This is a best-selling book on Amazon on Medicare. It's not even that long, but it's really helpful in helping you understand what Medicare is, how it functions, and what you need to consider the most heavily as you're making those decisions about your Medicare plan. So if you are on Medicare and you're interested in grabbing the book, you can download a free copy at this link that you see over here. That will also sign you up for our email list, and we email out all the resources that we've found several times a week. I think it's usually 3 times a week. And so if you want that, go there. If you don't want to bother reading the book, you can always call Chapter right down here at the number that you see to get that one-on-one free consultation where they will go over all the options that are available to you and help you figure out what the absolute best plan is for your unique needs. So book over there if you want it, phone number down there if you're interested. Now let's dive into this Q&A. And once again, I have my amazing daughter, Kaylee, over here. She's going to be helping us manage the chat today so that hopefully you guys don't have to sit here and watch me scroll through things. So what do we got, Kaylee? All right.
Wait, wrong one.
Okay. All right. Is 211 a safe site to find help? Time for Change asks. And I love your username, by the way. Very clever. 211 is great. 211 is a service that's run by the United Way. It's available in almost all areas. And what they do is they basically gather resources. It's basically a giant resource directory. And before I started low income relief, I used 211 all the time. The only issue with it is that sometimes those resources can be very out of date. That's the only problem I've ever encountered with 211. But after running low income relief for like more than 12 years, I have a lot of sympathy with that because it's hard to keep things up to date. But if you're looking for a list of places that you can go for help, then that's absolutely a great place to go. Okay, Joanne is asking, where can I get the free cookbook? And that is a great question. So for those of you who didn't know, we are giving away a free copy of our food bank cookbook. It's something that Stephanie and I put together just to kind of help people figure out some good ways to use those basic food bank staples that you get. Because I think a lot of us don't use them very often. For example, I had no idea what to do with dried beans. So if you're interested in the free copy of the cookbook, it's very similar to this link that you see over here for the Medicare bestseller, except instead of book, it's cook. So lirlinks.com/cook will take you to the form, and then you just put your email address in, and then it'll send it out to you, and that will also sign you up for our email list. Don't worry though, the service that we use only logs an email address once. So you can get this book and that book, and you're still not going to get like double emails from us or anything. I would never do that to you. That would be super annoying. So just wanted to let you guys know about that. Okay, Donna is saying, if you still have stamps left, will you be able to use them? Whew. This is the question that everyone is asking, and I wish that I had a better answer for you. But the problem is that the government doesn't agree with itself on this. We have been trying to get a conclusive, absolute answer on this for days now. And the USDA says, yes, you'll still be able to use them into November. And a lot of states say, yes, you'll still be able to use them in November. And some states are saying no, that the funds won't be available November, or that the system won't be available, which doesn't make sense because TANF isn't going to be affected, so those systems should be still operational. So the answer is, unfortunately, we don't know yet. As a person who used to shop with EBT, I personally wouldn't take the risk. Unless you're carrying somehow a very large balance, which is incredibly unlikely, I would spend what you've got and go get the staples that you need, just in case, just because we don't know, right? I am very optimistic that this lawsuit, let me refresh the page again. Okay, still nothing. I'm very optimistic that they are going to succeed here. It does seem like the judge was leaning that direction. And in that case, maybe in a couple of weeks, things will change. But just with the uncertainty that we have, right? I don't want anybody to try to go shopping on Saturday and then find out they can't. I think you should still be able to. It wouldn't make sense to me that you wouldn't be able to. But I don't want anyone to find out the hard way that I'm wrong. You know, like that would be a terrible, terrible situation to be in. So I wish I had a better answer on that. Okay, Black Sheep is saying general assistance. So a lot of states call TANF general assistance. And some other states have a different general assistance program that's actually operated at like the county level. So I'm not entirely sure which one you mean. If it's the like EBT cash version of general assistance, then that would be mostly covered by the TANF slide that we went over a little bit earlier. And if you missed it, you can rewind to get back to it. We have an article on our website where we're putting all of that. Some states are sending extra. Some have just said that it'll be available. I haven't seen anyone say, I don't think. Let's see here. Sorry, my son is calling me. Here, you can respond to your brother. If he calls again, let him know I'm unavailable. Yeah, I haven't seen any states yet say that the TANF isn't going to be available. As far as the local assistance that they call general assistance that's available at like the city or county level, that should be state funded and shouldn't be affected by the shutdown, I would think, but I haven't confirmed that yet. Before you respond to him, do you got another question for me? Okay. Even if this stuff lasts another month or two, what happens after that? We don't know. We don't know how long the shutdown's going to last. I am optimistic that it's going to reopen soon. I feel like a lot of what we've seen lately is kind of brinksmanship and trying to compel different sides to do different things. Personally, for my own sanity, I'm trying to stay out of the politics of it as much as I can and just focus on the actionable help that you guys need. Nobody knows what the future holds, unfortunately. Babu says, does TANF go on the EBT card, like the cash option? Yes, that is exactly what that is. There are a couple of different programs, to my understanding, that go on the card as like an EBT cash option, but TANF is usually the big one that most people think of. So that's what that is. Let's see. Oh my goodness. Thank you. This is an amazing thing. I really appreciate that you joined the food bank today and signed up to be a volunteer. They are going to need so many volunteers. It is really, they're going to need all the volunteers they can get. Some states are trying to mobilize their National Guard to get more volunteers in there. So that is an awesome thing you're doing. Now, I'm going to highlight this one really quick from Diana. She said she tried to get the cookbook and it wouldn't happen. So I'm going to click over here to where you can see our website. And I'm going to go to that URL. Okay, so when you get to the page that offers the free cookbook, it should look like this. And that's going to be at lirlinks.com/cook. And then it should look like this. You should type in your email address, click the button. It'll send you an email. And then as soon as you confirm that, you'll be able to download that copy of the book. So hopefully that helps you. If you're still not able to get it, let us know. You can always email team@lowincomerelief.com and let Stephanie know. That's Stephanie's email address. Just let her know that you tried to download it, tried to sign up, you're not sure what happened, and then she can send you a copy of it as well if that's an issue. Takes a little bit longer that way because we get so many emails every day. But it's an option if that's something that you need to do. So, all right. What about food stamps carryover from September in November? So we don't know. It should still be there, but some states have expressed concern that it won't be, and I would assume that that would be any balance that you're currently carrying that would be affected if that happens. Kaylee, you're highlighting very similar questions that are all related to the same answer. It's okay. She's new. She's learning how to do this. So same answer here. We don't know. I don't know if states are necessarily wiping balances. I don't think that's what's going on. I think that some states just have concerns that something could go wrong with the system. I saw a lot of very careful language today as I was going through different state websites. And some of them were like, unless something else changes at the federal level, and they're kind of putting these disclaimer cushions on what they're saying because this is really unprecedented, right? Food stamps, SNAP has been running for 60 years and it's never not paid out in that time. And so I think there's a lot of uncertainty with a lot of different agencies about what is going to happen now because whatever it is, it's never happened before. Okay. Do you know if ABD payments are being paid as normal? That is an excellent question. I thought we went over everything today, but we did not cover ABD. Now, my assumption is that So for those of you who don't know, ABD is Aged, Blind, and Disabled Payments. My assumption is that ABD would be okay because I believe it's state funded to begin with. I'm not 100% solid on that answer, but we are going to make a note of that, and we are going to come back and we will look into that in greater detail. I'll make a note right now for the research team to dive into that as soon as we're off of here. So I love that you guys are able to ask questions. It's one of the reasons why I decided to do these live chats, even though they're a little difficult for me. I still kind of get nervous when I'm on here with you guys, but I'm glad that you guys are able to ask these questions and we're able to get these things flagged for the research team so that we can dive in and get those answers for you, because I want to make sure that you're getting good answers that you can trust. So, all right, what else do we got? That we just did that one. Okay, not everyone can do downloads, so then what? That is a great question. At this point, we don't have print copies of the cookbook available. As far as this book goes, the Medicare book, you can buy that on Amazon, but it's like $10. I can only give out the download for free. And for the cookbook, I can see what it would take to turn that into a print version. But you know, if you go, it occurs to me, if you went to your local library, they could probably download it and print it out for you. So that's possibly an option as well. You are completely caught up?
Yeah.
You don't see any more questions?
No.
Okay. Maybe refresh your page because I think it's not moving.
Oh,
Or
I
you
just
can
got
always
one.
scroll up too to see.
I just got one.
I understand that, but I'm giving you an instruction. You can always scroll up too if you've run out. See if you can find more. So.
I marked all the scrolled up ones we already got.
Oh, look at you go. Wow. Sorry, my daughter's helping me with the Q&A today, and she is surprisingly organized. I am impressed, Kaylee girl. She's going to end up on the research team here shortly. Okay, so what about LIHEAP benefits? So we did go over this just a little bit earlier, but basically the federal government is not sending that money to the states until the shutdown is resolved. So different states are handling that differently based on what their state budgets can handle. Rebecca, who's new to our research team and absolutely fabulous, is currently working on getting a state-by-state breakdown of how LIHEAP is being handled at this time. So we'll get back to that here shortly. So let's see. Will utility checks, that's LIHEAP. So we just answered that one. It's okay, she doesn't know all the acronyms and lingo yet because she's only been doing this for about 24 hours since we threw her into this because of all the trolls we had earlier this week. So she is adapting. Oh, hey, did you see the one that said you're doing a good job? Mm-hmm. See, you're doing great. We got this. Let's see. I have to tell you guys, she was really encouraged by a lot of the comments you guys left yesterday. She was talking about it all night. So you guys are wonderful. I don't know, Steve, why the experts are recommending freezing SNAP benefits. I don't understand a lot of the policy choices that are being made right now as far as what different people are doing. It's complicated. That is a great question. And the answer to that question, Candy, depends on what the context is, because I must have missed something. I'm not sure what's going on there. There's a lot of different acronyms for a lot of different things.
We're caught up again. I'm at the bottom.
Yeah. Well, then scroll upward, honey. Let's see. Sorry, we're looking for more questions in here. Hey, Kaylee. Oh, good. You did drop did you drop that link in there too for the cookbook? Or was that Stephanie?
That was Stephanie.
Oh, good. Thank you, Stephanie. I'm glad you're here helping out too. That's awesome. We have a lot of people on our team now, thank goodness. And so we're able to get this information out a lot faster, which is really, really helpful. Yeah. Sometimes the tool jumps around and it's hard to track the chat too.
Okay.
So.
Oh, wait. We already got that one.
If you guys have questions, it really helps if you put question at the beginning, or even just like a Q, or type it in all caps, things like that. It helps us see them faster so that we're able to get it in there. Some of these tools that we use are a little confusing. So Kimberly is suggesting that you can go to your local library and look for cookbooks on budget meals. That is amazing advice. Your library is a great resource. They have all sorts of different things that can help. Oh my goodness, Ray, thank you. That is really generous. I appreciate that. I never expect you guys to do those super chats, but I love that it's an option, and I really appreciate those of you who choose to help support our team. It really makes a difference. Thank you, Ray. That's wonderful.
Oh, it just scrolled up. This is it.
Let's see. When are work requirements going into effect for EBT? Oh boy, November 1st. It's really bad timing. Yeah, we did a whole other video on that. So the provisions of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act had a delay before everybody had to get on board with it, and it looks like that timing is going to hit us at about the same time. Now, of course, the natural follow-up question to that is, do you have to comply with the work requirements if they're not paying your benefits? Well, you're still on the program, so some people say yes, but how are they even going to administer that if they're not getting the support from the USDA, because the government's shut down and the people have been furloughed, and it's going to it's very confusing. It is very, very confusing, and we are going to be looking into that in greater depth as things go forward, because it just seems like a whole confluence of things are hitting all at once, and that's hard. All right. Yes. So Lisa, that is an amazing question. And yes, so the state lawsuit, 25 states in Washington, D.C. sued to try to force the payment of SNAP in November. And there was a hearing this morning. We went over all of that just a little bit ago in our slide presentation. You can rewind to catch that. If you're interested in more of the details, the judge said some really beautiful things that I saw quoted in a couple of different sources. So I'm really excited for this. A lot of outlets are suggesting that she's going to she's leaning toward a ruling in favor of the states. I am actively clicking the refresh button over here on my ticker, trying to get some sort of definitive answer if that ruling has been issued yet. It's expected to come out later today. I haven't seen an answer yet, but I am eagerly awaiting that information. My understanding is that any ruling in this case would affect all states, not just the states that filed the lawsuits, but nothing is certain until that ruling comes out. So we are eagerly awaiting more information. So, all right. Section 8 is fine for right now. So it's funded through November. It appears to have been funded through December. Beyond that, we're not sure. But for now, Section 8 is going to be okay. So that's good. Will the work requirements include those on SSI? I haven't seen any SSI changes come out other than the changes to in-kind support and maintenance that are going to reduce benefits for people who live with relatives. Other than that, I haven't seen any changes to work requirements on SSI yet. But I'll be watching. And hopefully we don't see that happen, but we'll see. Oh my goodness, dysfunctional battery. I agree with you. We're all going to have stomach ulcers from the stress before this mess is over. I know I am. I am in the thick of this stuff from the time I wake up in the morning until the time I go to bed all week this week, just trying to gather all of the information I can for you guys. And I can't even imagine, right? Like there's so much conflicting news out there. It's crazy. And it's very, very stressful. And I am so sorry. I am so sorry that each one of you is going through this. This is just not good stuff, and I am so sorry. I wish there was more I could do to solve it. I am, excuse me, I'm very good at research, and I enjoy bringing you guys helpful information, but I wish that I had some sort of ability to just fix stuff. Is it true that the IRS shut their doors? So I thought that was a really interesting announcement that I saw come out, that they were actually going to be affected by the shutdown, because I also read that they had funding already appropriated to them. I apologize. But I did see a statement on the IRS website about a week ago that said that due to the lapse in appropriations, they are limiting their services. The underlying tax law remains in effect. All taxpayers must continue to meet their tax obligations. And it says during this period, they'll accept and process payments, stuff like that, but they're offering limited customer assistance. Taxpayer assistance centers will be closed. Different things like that are going to be happening. So they haven't closed their doors, but they are not operating at their normal capacity either. Ooh, must have breathed something. I don't know. Do you know if federal funding for home repairs will be available? I don't know. The weatherization assistance program is usually one of the big sources for that, and it's usually pretty closely tied to LIHEAP, and LIHEAP's future is uncertain too. I do know that there are dozens and dozens of agencies that offer different types of home repair grants, including a bunch of dedicated nonprofits. And I'm sure they get some federal funding, but I also know they get funding from other sources. So those may still continue. We have a list of those on our website. Let's see if I can pull the list up for you really quick. Let's see if we can jump back over here. Yeah, so on our website, we have this list of free home repair grants. And it's got way more than just what you would normally get from the government. We've got tons of government programs, but also nonprofits and different things. And then if you come down here, you can choose your state. And that'll take you to a state list of all the things that we found in your state. And we're constantly finding and looking for all these different types of resources. So I would check there, even if you're worried about funding being an issue. All right. I don't know. Bad Linus, it's going to depend on how Congress reopens the government and what happens from there. For now, any of the big changes to SNAP seem to be tied up in that One Big Beautiful Bill Act that they passed earlier this year. And there were a bunch of different changes in it. Some of them were technical changes affecting how states fund the program and different things like that. And those are supposed to be phased in over a number of years. We have a video that breaks down all those changes, but it was from earlier when the bill was passed. As far as other changes to SNAP, the future is just so uncertain right now. I don't know of anything else that's definitive, but we will definitely keep tabs and continue reporting as we learn more. We went over all of that in our slide deck. So anybody who's got questions about what's going on with SNAP or WIC or TANF or any of that, if you're just tuning in, you can rewind the live stream even while I'm still talking. And our slide deck presentation that we went over earlier had all of the information that we had on all of those programs. So to keep the chat interesting for those of you who have been here for, oh my goodness, almost the whole hour, I think we're going to try to avoid repeat answers, because then it just takes up more time and we're not giving any more helpful information. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Got my new assistant here helping me today. So, all right, the ticker link I keep mentioning. Are you talking about the link down here in this ticker? I'm going to assume that that's what you mean. We've got this little news ticker on the bottom now. I'm not sure if all of you can see it. I hope you can, and I hope it's helpful. We're trying to kind of recap what was in the slide deck that we went over, and we've got some sponsors in there and different things like that. I haven't been watching it, but I can possibly click over and see what's in it. I assume that the link is probably free cash. Okay. Yeah, I see the claims link and the free cash link in the ticker. Okay. So free cash is a sponsor of this channel. They have an app that'll pay you to play games and take surveys and things like that. The payouts, I mean, admittedly, they're not glorious, right? None of those game platforms are going to like pay your, I don't know, whole rent or anything. They say that you could make like $38 a day, I think, is what their homepage says. But you can sign up at the link that you see down there. They're just a sponsor of this channel. Seems to be a good way to make a little bit of extra money. And then the other link that we have in the ticker is lirlinks.com/claims, which goes to our other sponsor, Injury Claims, who helps people get financial compensation if they've been harmed by a product or service. So that's what those links are in the ticker down below that you might be seeing. So, I was like, now I need to hop back in the chat, but I got you and you're handling the chat. You're so awesome, Kaylee. Appreciate you. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Martin. I really appreciate that. Does the federal government have to follow the ruling? That is a question. I would assume yes, but lately I have, there's been a lot of rulings, and I'm not sure how well things are being followed, but theoretically, yes, that would be what would have to happen. I'm sure there's probably some sort of appeals process or something, but to my understanding, they're seeking like an emergency order to fund SNAP benefits. I am not a lawyer, so I don't know a ton of specifics on that, but it sounds encouraging to me. So no ruling has come in yet, though. I keep refreshing, and I'm still not seeing any updates, and it's I really want to see that come through. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. So, I have so many questions about this question, and it's not your fault. I've seen a lot of different information going out about a lot of different things. It doesn't make sense to me why EBT readers would have to go down, because all of the states that I've seen are still processing things like TANF that provide cash on EBT cards. So if the readers go down, how are people going to use the benefits that they're still getting, right? Like, that doesn't make sense. I would have to chase down the announcement where that was made, which would probably take me longer than any of you want to watch me do here on a video. But I will make a note to investigate that, see if I can find that statement. And then if I can find that statement, I'll try to find a rationale for that and go from there. My gut reaction, based on the information that I saw today, is that the EBT readers aren't going to go down, and that, I don't know, but that's my assumption. I will get the research team on that, and we'll see what we can find out about all of that. So, okay. Do any states meet the new waiver requirements based on high unemployment rates? Oh, lovely. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the acronym, ABAWD here is able-bodied adults without dependents. That's an excellent question. I am not aware of any states that have above 10% unemployment previously. So, big question, trying to figure out how to answer it. Without going into like a whole history lesson, because I know you guys probably don't care as much about like policy history as I do. I geek out about that stuff. But basically, before the One Big Beautiful Bill Act and the change of, administration and everything, states were able to get these waivers that would basically say, okay, yeah, we know what the work requirements are, but they're not going to affect us here because of this reason. And high unemployment was one of those reasons. And you could do it at a more like local level and stuff, and they were just generally easier to get. When the administration changed, they made it very, very clear that they were going to make those waivers much harder to get. They basically issued a press release, and I'm paraphrasing this because I don't have it in front of me, but basically they're like, the law says we can issue those. It doesn't say we have to issue those, so we don't want to, was basically the vibe in that whole press release that they issued. So I am not aware of any states that have like statewide 10% unemployment that are following up on this. I know they gave, was it Alaska, extra leniency in the law, I think, when they passed it, but I'm not sure conclusively on that particular issue, unfortunately, but we can look into it. I can make a note of that as well. Okay, you just did that one.
Oh.
Okay, I just turned 60. Am I considered a senior for the Center of Aging? That is a great question. In a lot of cases, yes. It's hard to define what a senior is in the same way that it's hard to define what low income is, because each program kind of just does its own thing, right? So I have seen 60 be a cutoff. I've seen 62 be a cutoff. It just kind of depends locally on those policies, but generally, yes, you're going to be considered a senior and you're going to be okay accessing those programs and things. So, okay. Karen says, once they reopen the government, how long will it take to get everyone paid? That's going to depend on your state, unfortunately. So we know Kansas came out and said that once they get told go, it's going to take them 3 days to get everything up and running and processed and issued to get those SNAP benefits out. And that's the timeline for SNAP in Kansas. The timeline could be different for different programs within Kansas. It could be different for SNAP in other states. It just depends on what their workflows look like, because the federal government has to do its thing, get open, and then tell the states, okay, here's the money, you need to send it on. And then the states have to take the money and then send it on. And there's a lot of moving parts. So at this point, I know from what I understand, let me see before I say anything that could possibly be wrong. Yeah, so as far as I can see, the government is still shut down. They adjourned today without any sort of agreement again. But my understanding is that even if they were to make a decision before the 1st, like there isn't enough time before the 1st to get everything out on the 1st that should be. So we are at least going to be seeing delays in some of those payments, even if it were to happen very quickly. So, all right. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. You guys are being so generous today. I really appreciate that. Thank you. You guys are awesome. All right. Are we going to be able to use our same SNAP card once they do start working? I would assume so. That would be what would make the most sense to me. I know, looking over the different states that are going to be funding SNAP with their own dollars, some of them plan on loading that state money onto those same EBT cards that you already have. So my assumption is that that would be the way that it would go. I know in a more big picture way, eventually I think the plan is to get everybody a chipped EBT card, but that's years down the line. That's not anything that's going to be happening imminently, especially with the shutdown and things not moving forward. All right, Jamie Lee says, will the OTC card, is the OTC card still going to be funded? So yes, your OTC card comes through your insurance, probably your Medicare plan, I would imagine. Chapter is really good at helping people figure out like what's going on with their Medicare plans. So if you're interested in Medicare questions, I always point people toward them because they know way more about Medicare than I do. But as far as I understand, your OTC card is not attached to the government shutdown in any way and shouldn't be a problem. So hopefully that's comforting at least. I know a lot of people in our chats this week have talked about being able to get that like monthly grocery money, things like that are going to be able to help during this time. So that's awesome that some of those plans offer benefits like that, I think. Oh my goodness, Lane. Thank you guys. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate that. I really hope you guys are not hurting your own budgets to do those super chats, though. I worry about you guys a great deal.
Before
Yeah.
all the questions. Oh, one of them just came in.
All right. A couple of us were wondering about the link you keep mentioning about the judge. Yes. So I have Google News open, and I am just searching SNAP lawsuit ruling, and I'm just refreshing it like every couple of seconds, because that way, if any news outlet anywhere posts about it, it will show up. I know there's some different outlets that have their own like independent live news that they update, but I want to make sure I catch it no matter who says it. So I'm just on Google News, just hitting refresh on my search. It's nothing too fancy, but I am really hoping that comes out soon because, I mean, they're on East Coast time. It's already like 7 there. I don't know what the delay is, but I really want to see it. Okay. Shelly is saying, what is an OTC card? So OTC is over the counter, and they're really helpful. You can use it to obviously buy things that are over the counter. Before Medicaid really started getting hit at the start of this year, there were Medicaid plans that had OTC cards. I think some of them still do, but they're not very widely advertised. So if you are on Medicaid, I always recommend that you go over that information they give you with a fine-tooth comb to see if you have that option. Because usually the OTC benefits don't roll over. They expire every month. There's all sorts of stuff. I could go on and on and on about that for days. We found some really interesting things in the fine print of some Medicaid plans over the years. But most of the time when people bring it up on this channel, they're usually talking about Medicare over-the-counter cards, which they usually get from a Medicare Advantage plan. Now, there are like 20,000 plans out there. It is kind of insane. And of course, not all of them are available in every area, and they're all very different, and it's super complicated. That's why I recommend people call Chapter, because they have these great databases and they can look at everything and look at your doctors and your medications and everything, and then find out like which plans are going to give you what you need and then which ones are going to give you the best benefits, and they're just awesome. So if you're interested in getting an OTC card and you're Medicare eligible, call these guys. If you're on Medicaid and you're curious about an OTC card, you'd want to go through the fine print of all the documentation you were given, or go look at your plan's website. Sometimes you can find it on there too. So, all right. Is there any more info on the stimulus check, or was that a mean joke? Okay. There has not been any more information. Like we went over in the video where we originally talked about it, it was a passing comment made to a news outlet. It was never like a congressional proposal or anything really formal. It was just something that was said, and I haven't seen any follow-up on that at all. To my understanding, of course, I'm not a politician, stimulus checks usually require some sort of like formal motion, usually through Congress, and Congress is not really doing anything right now, especially in the thick of this shutdown. So even though I know it's desperately needed, I don't think that relief is on the way right now, and I am so sorry to not have better news for you on that point. Hang on, getting a message from my team I need to look at really quick. Let's see. Oh my goodness, my team has been blowing up this chat and I just simply have not been looking at it. I apologize. Give me one moment to catch up on this. Oh, you guys are awesome. Thank you, Stephanie, for being here and for helping Kaylee out during this. Let's see. You're going to have to be more specific in what you're trying to tell me, darling. Okay. We can follow up on that a little bit later, okay? I'm not 100% sure what if you can screenshot it and send it over to me, then I can look at it that way, okay? In the meantime, let's keep going. Okay. Is there any other people using a different healthcare than Medicare? So, I mean, there's like 20,000 Medicare plans, so it depends on what flavor of Medicare you're talking about, probably. But then, of course, Medicaid is for people who are low income. You don't have to be a senior for that. It's based on income and need. And then, of course, there's other forms of healthcare as well. But generally, in our chats here, we tend to focus on Medicaid and Medicare because that tends to be what the majority of people who follow our channel are receiving due to either income or age or disability, things like that. So, all right, will EBT be back to active when it comes back on? We hope so. There's a lot we don't know until Congress does something. And a lot of those details won't be known until that action is taken. So, let's see. You got?
We've gone over all of them to the bottom.
Wow.
I've been marking them.
You've been ooh. It's only her second day on the job, and she's got a whole tracking system to make sure that she's getting all of the questions that are popping up and making sure we're getting answers. So that's impressive. All right. Do you have any information on open enrollment for VA healthcare? So VA healthcare works a little differently. You have to meet their eligibility requirements, but my understanding, and at least the way it worked when my husband enrolled in VA healthcare, is if you're eligible, you just go sign up. You don't really need to wait for an open season. You can just go take care of that. I would contact your VA medical center, but do be aware that some services may be slower due to the government shutdown. But you should be good to just apply for that, I think. Let's see. How do I actually use, I think that was TANF and LIHEAP funds. So TANF, you would apply for like the EBT cash program or whatever they call TANF in your state, and then that comes on your EBT card as cash. LIHEAP, you usually apply with your Community Action Council, and they are going to give that funding directly to your utility provider to help cover your utility bills. So, I want to highlight this comment really quickly from Jocelyn because this is an excellent point. Remember not to put any personal information in this chat. Please do not put any personal information in this chat. This is an excellent comment, and I really appreciate that reminder. I know, especially on our website and on our social media, a lot of times people will try to give me their phone number. I want to just take this moment to remind you guys, I don't make phone calls. We get hundreds of emails, right? And comments and things, and it's impossible for us to keep up with everybody one-on-one. The best way to get an answer from me is through email or through this chat, but please don't put your personal information in here because it is going to be public and other people are going to be able to see that, and I don't want anyone to take advantage of any of you. My goal here is to help you, so please do not reveal any of that personal information. Keep that safe. So, project-based Section 8. So we have some information on that in the other video that we did about what's going on with all of the HUD programs, because there are different forms of Section 8. There's other types of housing available too, and just a lot of different programs under that HUD umbrella, and they're all a little bit different. The guidance that I saw from the different legal aid clinics and things that I was gathering information from, they were saying, regardless of what program you're on, going forward, make sure you're filling like your obligations under the lease, and then that should help protect you no matter what's going on going forward. I can see we have a couple of comments over here asking about Section 8. I would strongly recommend that you go look at that other video that we did on all of the housing programs because we have a lot more information there. No says, does Chapter or anywhere else help us pick the best Medicaid plan? Unfortunately, Chapter only does Medicare. If you are dual eligible for both Medicare and Medicaid, they can help you with that as well because they can see like your combined options. But for Medicaid itself, I would recommend that you talk to, let's see who could help with that. I'm trying to think. If you're a senior, the Area Agency on Aging might be a good resource for that. There really should be a service that does that, and I am not sure. So I'm going to document that because that is definitely something that if it exists, we need to find it, and if it doesn't exist, somebody needs to make that. That's an interesting question. Thank you for asking that. We are going to follow up on that and see what we can figure out for you, and then we'll come back and address that possibly in a short or another video or something on either this or the Fast Facts channel. We'll get the answer out for that. So, all right. GR. I'm assuming that's, and I'm guessing here, general relief, which is another name for TANF, I believe. I would go look at the TANF slide if you're talking about like those EBT cash benefits. And if you mean a different program, just let me know in the chat because it's been a very long work day and I can tell I'm starting to get a little bit tired. So maybe I'm misunderstanding. If that's the case, just let us know. Okay. Love Pugs is saying, testing. Can anyone see my post? I can see your post. If you had a different question or anything, let me know. I'm wondering, because you're asking that though, I'm wondering if some of the chat isn't making its way through to us because we're not actually seeing that many questions on our end. So I know we have slow chat enabled right now so that people can only send a message like every 90 seconds or so because we were having such a flood of trolls the other day and we wanted to make sure that we could actually like keep up on things. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to answer this one from Big Josh really quick. My Medicare Advantage OTC amount is through United and the amount is being lowered. Do you know why? So this is that lovely time of year where Medicare plans decide that they're going to do something different. So all of the plans are starting to like change for 2026, and this is the season where we see them disappear from certain states or change the amounts that they're giving or change coverage of different doctors. Sometimes people just renew their same plan and then find out that they can't go see their same doctor that they've been seeing for years because it's no longer covered. And a lot of people don't realize that that happens. But that's kind of the purpose of annual enrollment is the healthcare companies change their plans for the new year. And then you've got this relatively short window between mid-October and early December where you're supposed to figure out everything they're changing and decide what you want to do about it. And far and away, the majority of people on Medicare never even look at their plan and they don't know, and then they find out when it's too late. And that's heartbreaking to me because that's a lot of people who suddenly find out that they can't see their doctors or they're not going to get their OTC benefits they were counting on or whatever, which is why I think every single person on Medicare should, as much of a pain as that big Medicare and You book is, like, you need to look every year and make sure that the plan that you're on is still the best one for you. Now, that being said, I'm not a licensed advisor. I don't have the ability to recommend plans or anything like that. But if you call, you can grab that one again in just a second. I'm trying to just make sure this number is visible. If you want to call this number right here, Chapter can help you figure out like all of the changes for this coming year to all the plans in your area and what your best options are going to be. That's like their only job. So those guys are great for that. Okay, what did you have for me? Okay. Oh no, I did not realize an ad popped up over what we were doing in Ohio for SNAP. So I'm really interested in how this works. If you rewind it, is the ad still there? Like, did it just take out a chunk of my video? Because if that's the case, that's kind of a problem, right? I will admit that I don't watch that much YouTube on my own because YouTube is my job. And so when I'm off my computer, I don't like to watch videos. So I don't entirely know how that works. But if it's just erasing that information, that's definitely something that we need to know about. I can go ahead and pull that up really quickly here. So you said Ohio for SNAP. So we'll go ahead and jump back over to the website really quick. This is the article where I'm putting all of that information about what's going on in the month of November. So Ohio, what was Ohio doing? Is it? Oh, right. So this, Ohio is going to provide $7 million to different food banks, but the way that they're going to try to get more money directly to the people is through the TANF program. So if you also get funds from TANF, which in their state is called Ohio Works First, then they're going to effectively double the value of that benefit to try to make up for the lost SNAP benefits. And then if they decide to do anything else, this link on our website right here is going to be where we're going to update that information. And I'll go ahead and drop that direct link here in the chat. Okay. So hopefully that answers that. And then we'll pop back over here. And did you have anything? Okay. Oh, still can't get the cookbook. Okay, if the link for the cookbook isn't working, go ahead and email team@lowincomerelief.com and we can just send you a copy of that and we'll figure out what's going on. Okay. If the judge rules, could the government appeal? That's a good question. I would assume probably. I don't know how that works with like emergency orders. I'm not a lawyer. My hope is that it would just happen, but you make a good point there that if they can appeal, they're probably going to. I can't believe they still haven't released that ruling. That is driving me crazy. I will look into this and I will see if I can get you a better answer. Because if I go dig for that right now, you guys are just going to have to watch me read stuff, and I don't want to make you guys do that. Do you know offhand if they have any advocates to help people with the medical insurance that could assist with any help or questions? If the medical insurance is Medicare, that's what Chapter does, is they help people with their questions about their plans and finding better plans and things. As far as like a patient advocate to help you deal with a problem that you're having specifically with a provider, I know where to get those for like veterans with the VA. They have a really good patient advocate system, but I'm not sure about other plans. If you want to send an email to team@lowincomerelief.com and talk about like what kind of insurance it is, whether it's Medicaid, Medicare, whatever it is, and then like what kind of help and questions you're looking at, I would be interested in seeing if we could get a list put together for you, because I know having someone to actively advocate on your behalf can make a huge difference. So, okay. Have you heard anything about Uber Eats or Instacart stepping up? Okay, so I haven't heard anything about Uber Eats or Instacart specifically yet. I do know that DoorDash is going to be waiving delivery and service fees for one order per SNAP household, but only if you shop at certain retailers. We went over that in yesterday's video at the end. And I know that GoPuff is offering like a 22, how do I explain this? It's $50 in free groceries, but they're doing it in 2 waves. So it's like 2 coupons worth $25 each that they're going to be giving out for people who are in their service area to get groceries delivered. And the information for both of those promotions, I believe, was in yesterday's video. It was yesterday's video, right?
I think so.
Okay, well, I mean, you've only been in here for one other day's video, so if you heard me talk about it, it would have been yesterday, right? Pretty sure it was yesterday.
Talk about stuff at dinner, so.
That's fair. I do talk about stuff when I'm off work, so I can understand why you might be slightly confused. She's got me there. Oh my gosh, that is terrible. Thank you for letting me know that. That is extremely concerning. I'm going to have to figure out what to do about that because that's not good at all. Okay. I'm going to make a note of that. Let's see. Okay. You have more?
Yeah, I just have to find.
You just have to find it because it moved around on you. That happens sometimes. We'll be like tracking a question we want to click on, and then it will just completely like jump off the screen.
No,
So.
I write it down and then I go find the next one.
Oh, you do have a system. That's impressive. Can you stop doing the state ones though? Because like they can.
Oh.
Yeah. If you have a question about your specific state, I'm going to point you either back to rewinding the video to that point or to going and looking at the website link we dropped in the chat, just because otherwise we'll be here answering state-specific questions all day, and those of you who are still sticking around will eventually get bored of hearing me say the same thing over and over again. Did the Supreme Court ruling change anything for the states receiving SNAP? I haven't seen a Supreme Court ruling. The one I'm tracking is a federal ruling in the district court in Massachusetts. So we're waiting for a federal judge in Boston to issue that ruling. And I still have not seen anything come through for sure yet. And it's driving me crazy. Let's see. Just to make sure I'm not missing anything, let me do one more search here just to see. I'm not seeing anything about the Supreme Court related to SNAP either. So, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to find one.
We're still working on streamlining our system over here. I do apologize.
State specific.
Okay. Hey, Brenda, thank you for joining us. I'm glad you made it for a live. That's awesome. At this point, we are going to pause answering any local specific questions and point you to the links on the website. So in case you missed that, we have articles on our website right now. It's lowincomerelief.com, like you can see up there at the top. And we've got lists of what's going on for SNAP, WIC, and, oh, well, that was TANF before I went over to home repair grants. Oh, there's the cookbook. Okay. There's the one for TANF. So if you have state-specific questions, go check those out. And then, yeah, I can put that email address in here too. So email to, there you go. Laura asked a great question that said, are there any actually plans you can choose from on Medicaid? So this is going to depend a little bit by your state. When I was on Medicaid, which was back when you were born, so I'm trying to figure out how old you are.
I'm nearly 16.
Okay, so something like 15 years ago. Thanks, babe. Now I feel old. Back when I was on Medicaid, there were different plans that you could choose from, and I had to call, I remember this distinctly, because when our family's case was going through Medicaid, like, all of us were put on one plan, except for one person who was put on a different plan, and that plan couldn't see the doctors that the rest of the family saw, and it was so annoying. So eventually, the doctor's office was like, you could just call in and have them switch you to the other plan, and then you could just all come here. And so I didn't realize before that time that was an option. But then I called in and I talked to the state, and the person I spoke to was like, yeah, what plan do you want to be on? And I was like, well, everybody else is on this one. I'd like to be on that one. And they moved it right over and it was fine. So that was in Washington State. So there are different Medicaid plans out there. In the research that we've done for low income relief, they're like, I don't know. I don't know if I should pull that up in this video. That could take us in a whole different direction. In the past, we've done videos where we've gone over and like looked into different plans, and some of them were offering, and this was of course before this year when everything started to crack down, but there were Medicare plans that were, sorry, misspoke. There were Medicaid plans that were offering help with things like GED costs, school supplies, baby needs like car seats, like all sorts of stuff. It's pretty crazy. A lot of those extra benefits are starting to be pared back due to new policy changes and things like that. But there are definitely different Medicaid plans out there. So anyway. Okay. Ooh. Will SNAP be retroactive? That's going to depend on what Congress decides. The bills that are currently before Congress, they've introduced a couple of them that are standalone bills that are only going to fund SNAP. Those ones are talking about it being retroactive. So my hope is that whenever they take action on this, it will be retroactive, but I can't promise that because it isn't definitive yet. So I was just about to click on that one. Good job, Kaylee. Okay, No is asking, do you know a website or organization that can help advise on specific devices to help disabled people? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. We know lots of these. So again, I'm going to click over here really quick. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to make your question disappear. And I'm going to do a search for DME. I think that's what we have it. Nope, maybe not. So this website is my baby. This is where I started doing things before we went on to YouTube. So let's see, medical equipment maybe is the right word. I forget what all of my lists are called because I have so many of them. So there is, depending on what you need, there's a list of medical equipment providers. Oh, I have to click over here on this screen. That's why it's not going. We have a list here of different organizations in different states that may be able to assist you. I think this list includes like the assistive technology programs and stuff like that too that are really helpful at connecting, especially people with disabilities with different types of devices and things that might be useful. So this would be where I would start, is to go to our website and look for this list, because that's going to help you find a lot of different organizations. And hopefully you'll be able to find one that does something other than wheelchairs, because there's a lot of great help out there. Okay. Let's see, Lisa says, oh, okay, well, I'll do yours in a second. I just clicked on this one, so I'm going to answer this one first, okay? All right, can a person get an OTC card just having original Medicare, or does it have to be Duo or Advantage? I'm not 100% sure. I believe it has to be Duo or Advantage. That tends to be one of their big marketing incentives, is those OTC cards and grocery cards and different things that they offer. So I think so, but I don't know 100%. That is definitely something that I will probably go ask chapter when we're off here, because every time I have a Medicare question, I ask them first. I don't just recommend it for you guys. They're like my go-to for all questions related to Medicare. Okay. Lurking Brave says, I heard you'll have to reapply because you'll be kicked out of the system. I don't know that that's true. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think there's a lot of speculation and rumor going on right now about what's going to happen, and a lot of it just isn't certain until it happens. Different states will obviously be handling different things, but right now, one of the major points that they made in that lawsuit was that this is going to create a hardship for states, because financially they're still legally required to accept SNAP applications, process renewals, do all of the things that the state is supposed to do as part of the federal SNAP partnership. But the federal government isn't doing their part. And so part of the reason they brought the lawsuit was like, this isn't fair. We have to keep spending state money to do something that's broken, and it's broken because you guys did this. And so with that in mind, it wouldn't make sense to me that they would also just kick everybody out of the system. So I don't believe that that's true. But I would want to dive into that deeper before I gave you like a definitive, rock solid, I'm absolutely sure about it type of answer. So hopefully that makes sense. And hopefully that's a little bit comforting too. I know there's so much stress and confusion out there about so many different things right now. So, anyway. Yes. So earlier we went over all of that. The VA is still going to be paying out as scheduled. Social Security is still paying out as scheduled. And SNAP is iffy depending on where you're located. But we have that article on our website, or you can rewind the video to see the state-by-state breakdown of what we found for what's going on there. And I will continue to update that list, and so will our research team as we find more information about what states are doing. Because I think they're all a little bit frazzled and overwhelmed by this too right now. So, okay. Let's see. Are we?
We're caught up.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. Well, we have been going for close to an hour and a half. So I feel like once we reach this point, a lot of times you guys start to get kind of diminishing returns from me because I get more and more tired and a little bit possibly less helpful in my responses. Okay. Ooh, I'm going to answer this one really quick. I think maybe you might be missing a couple in your system there, sweets. Style Star says, when I mentioned GoPuff, I said they'd be giving out 2 promo codes. So the way that they're doing this is they're going to do $25 between the 1st and the 15th of November, and that will be, was the code SNAP Relief with the number 1, I think. And then there's a different code for November 16th through 30th, which is basically the same code, but with the number 2 at the end. And then that's how they're doing that. And they're only making, if I remember right, it was 200,000 coupon codes altogether. So probably 100,000 in the first wave, 100,000 in the second wave. And so during certain dates, you use one code. During the other dates, you use the second code. That's how they're structuring that. So hopefully that makes a little more sense, because you are not wrong. You can't use 2 promo codes in one checkout. So good catch on that. I appreciate it. Okay. Let's see. I love all of you guys sharing like helpful recipes over here in the comments, because that's so helpful to get those recipes out there and get them shared. That's awesome. Let's see. Appreciate those of you who are shouting out the trolls too. That makes us easier to catch them. Did you have anything else that you've seen?
This one.
How can we become a researcher with your team? Ooh, I love that question, Lisa. That's great. So right now, we do most of our hiring on Upwork just because I think it's easier for our accountant is why we do it that way. Not 100% sure, but if you're interested, you can always email team@lowincomerelief.com and we can kind of go from there and talk about options. We always need all the help we can get as far as research goes, because there is always way more to dig into than we can. We have dramatically expanded the team over this last week just to try to keep up with all of the news that's going on, including the addition of Kaylee over here running our, helping with the chat. So definitely happy to have more help if you're interested. Just start with that email and then, yeah, we'll go from there. Ooh, okay. Sandy says your local SHIP office can help with Medicare and Medicaid. I knew SHIP could do Medicare. I did not know they could do Medicaid. So that's interesting. I appreciate that. Let's see. Trying to see if there's, I don't know if there's an issue on our chat or what, but I'm not seeing. Sometimes if you wait just a second, all of a sudden you'll get like a ton of comments appear all at once.
Yeah.
And it's almost like there's a lag and then it holds it and then all of a sudden like a bunch of stuff pops up. So I don't know. Let's see.
It helps if they say question before.
It really does help if you say question at the beginning of it, if you're trying to get our attention. Or even just like a cue, something like that to kind of, because we're kind of skimming really
Also,
quick
if
as
they
we're going
miss
through.
Question marks, I'll probably miss their question.
Let's see. Kayla says having question marks in there helps too. So, that was a great question about becoming a researcher though. Yeah, Terrain says some people are repeating questions, and I do agree with that. I think getting off of here at this point might be good. I just want to make sure we're not missing anything. Like, thank you, Julie, for typing that up. Those are the GoPuff codes right there. That's awesome. I really love being able to help you guys, and I'm really sorry the news hasn't been more positive over the last few weeks. I know this has been really hard on everybody, and like I said earlier, I wish I had some sort of magic solution to just fix all of this for you, but you're gonna want to, well, hang on, I can grab that troll. I got it. Oh, good job. See, you're on top of it.
I got it.
We've been here for a little bit over an hour and a half, so I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up now. But we will be back tomorrow. I know I said this yesterday, but I do want to get that Medicaid video out here very soon. So I think tomorrow we're going to be talking about Medicaid and all of the different news that's coming out about that, because there was quite a bit. The funding is okay, but there's just other stuff that that's going on too, and some of it's state specific, and it just was way more than we could fit in this video. So I'm thinking tomorrow will be Medicaid, and then I think on Saturday we're going to have our like freebie and deals roundup, where we talk about all the different ways that you might be able to get extra cash in November. So do make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that, because I know that one is always really, really helpful to people and generally very positive. Great question, Brenda. So our goal is to have the videos up at 3 o'clock every day. I know we had a little bit of a delay yesterday because I was still catching up with breaking news, and then a little bit of a delay today due to technical issues. But generally 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern is going to be when our videos start here on this channel. There we go. So there was one other thing. Oh, okay. I saw this question from Tiffany come in really quick, so I'm going to address this before I wind up, because this really highlights why I'm doing that article on our website. So I have seen tons of articles in the last couple of days from different organizations saying, oh, this state's going to replace SNAP. Oh, this state's going to replace SNAP. But then you get in there and you dig into it, and they're just giving money to the food banks. Now, don't get me wrong. That's important. It's good to give money to the food banks. But that's not giving direct help to the people, and it's harder for people who are rural or don't have transportation or can't get to the food bank and all of that. So in New York, we went over that in our state-specific list. That was one of the states where I had a harder time figuring out exactly what was going on, because it was being misrepresented, and it sounded in several articles like they were actually going to replace SNAP funds. What I saw and what I was able to confirm is that New York released $106 million in emergency funding for food support, but all of that funding looks like it's sorry, I'm reading on the screen around my corner here. It looks like all of that funding is going to food banks and things like that. I don't know why I'm reading around the corner. I can bring it up here. Because their state website still says that they can't issue SNAP in November unless federal funding is authorized. So for that question about New York, I think that the funding is going to the food banks. I didn't see any sort of direct distribution yet, but I will keep looking. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Oh my goodness. Angela, thank you so much. I think you brought this up and I missed it. I apologize. Thank you, Angela. You are wonderful. I really appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Okay. Let's see. Senior food boxes. Oh, yes. That is another program that I have seen efforts to eliminate. That would be the commodity supplemental food program boxes. Let me check on that really quickly. Let's see. Wow, nobody is talking about what is going on over there. One moment. Yeah, I'll have to dig in and look. I have seen like an effort to kind of phase out those food boxes, but I haven't seen anything definitive yet, and I want to make sure I'm getting you accurate information. So I will make a note to dig into that, and then we'll go from there. Oh, are you making the notes for me? That's amazing. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. Aria says they became a channel member. Thank you for that. That is always completely voluntary, but we do have some extra perks available for those who become channel members. Stephanie does a phenomenal job of putting together these little like help kits and things like that, and we rotate those out every month. It's awesome. I really appreciate the work that she puts into making those fantastic. Let's see. Okay. Sorry, I saw a whole bunch of comments come right in as I was starting to prepare to sign off. So I just want to make sure that we don't miss. Okay, it looks like most of those questions had already been answered before. So thank you very much for being here with us today. I really appreciate all of you guys. You are in our thoughts and in our prayers. And I know this is a really stressful time. I know there's a lot that I wasn't able to answer because so much of this is unprecedented. And we just don't know some of the answers to some of those more pressing questions, but we will continue digging and trying to find those answers for you. We will continue to be here for you 6 days a week. We put out a video every day except Sundays. Thank you for being here with us, and we'll be back tomorrow to talk more about Medicaid, assuming there is no more breaking news. I really want to get that Medicaid video done for you.